Welcome, everyone, to the masterclass. Great to see some familiar faces here as well. Becky, great to see you. Luis, Karen, Russell. I know people are trickling in here. Why are you here today? We're talking about building agencies where people and the plans can thrive. Crafting culture, that's the focus of this, the leadership bent that we're taking today. I'd love to hear as we're getting started. We're letting a few people in the room still. Let's just know who is with us today. I'd love to know, some of you are earlier on in your journey. It's just you. Maybe it's you and your spouse. I was able to call a few of you guys and get some feedback. How many are on your team? And second question, what's the cultural trait you're trying to improve? Maybe it's ownership. You're feeling like people aren't just owning up. Why can't they just do the thing? Maybe it is excellence. What are the things that you're trying to improve? So let's drop that in the chat here. Along the way, I love engagement as much as possible. So you're going to see down below the chat lighting up. If you guys could engage and just share so we know what we're doing here. Luis has 4 on the team and wants to grow right as opposed to growing wrong. There is a way to grow wrong, as we may have experienced in the past. Lynette is just working on recruiting now. So some of you, this is a blueprint for the future that you're going to be taking. I'll give you a few extra seconds here to comment below. Again, here's the question. And for those of you who are wanting the best experience, I'll give that second question here. Karen, just me, want to grow. I've been working on an SOP for businesses. SOPs. My previous team, they would groan, but they knew that word meant a lot to us. Let's leave one more piece of engagement here. For those who want just the most focused, engaging experience, click on views. And if you can change your view to speaker view, that way you'll always make sure that the main screen is visible. And then you have the ability as well to hit full screen. I know what some of us are like, and I've got actually 3 monitors. I've got a monitor here, here, and here. So if I don't cut out the distractions of the world, I might miss what's going on in this moment. Accountability, that's a challenge we're trying to do. Just wanted to start an agency. Awesome. Well, let's dive in here. One thought as well as we get going, there is definitely a use case for this in business. That's where the ROI, the return of investment is. But for those who are maybe earlier in your journey as an agency, this is also a tool set that can help you build a better family culture as well. So if you have family, I've got a growing family myself. I'll talk about that in a moment. But these are great tools just to build an environment where people can thrive. Let's get into the overview as we are starting here. This is an introduction session. There will be tons of great value I bring, but there are more pieces to the conversation. Problems to solve. We want to make sure we understand why does this matter? It's not just a cute idea. It's not just the feels, the vibes. There's a real problem that we need to address that culture can touch on. I will share a little bit about myself. Some of you know me a little bit, but why is this important to me? What am I bringing to you today? We are going to have a definition about culture. We want to make sure that we're on the same page about what that means, and then we'll dive into the actual meat of the conversation, which will be the actual tools that you can start using in your agency, or you can start creating assets that will help you to attract and scale your agency. I will end with an invitation because there is more, and I'd love to continue with a few businesses who are looking to dial things in. But that's what the conversation will be about today. All right, I want to make sure you guys are getting something valuable. I know that some of us, we can hop onto webinars and feel like we're moving our business forward, but it's actually an action step or a takeaway. So if you guys have a pen and paper, what is one idea? What is one thing you're going to implement? I want you to take notes, but also maybe at the end you're going to circle something, and I'd love to hear that at the end of this call as well. There is what I love in business is the value of a good idea. We know that a single idea can mean tens of thousands of dollars. Just one idea can unlock revenue, or it can save us from mistakes that cost us Tens of thousands. So what is your one takeaway? Be prepared to share that at the end. Here's a quote to get us started in the conversation about culture. Many leaders, many agencies, they think they have a strategy problem, a people problem, or a motivation problem. But often we can tie this back. It's actually a culture problem. Here's the impact. Here's the pain or the things that are going to cost us, or maybe the diagnosis that we actually have a problem. Some of us with larger teams, these might be pain points. Bottlenecks. I did a poll on my Instagram, and this was one of the top ones. People said the founder becoming a bottleneck, the agency owner becoming a bottleneck, where it all depends on you. And you feel like, why can't people keep up with me? Why can't people make the decisions at a level or quality that I'm looking for? We've also got inconsistent standards where the definition of good changes from one person to the next. And maybe you hear statements like this: why can't they be more like Luis? Why can't they be more like Blessing? Blessing, great to see you on the call today. The issue we're trying to solve is where we raise the standards so everyone knows what good or what done or finished actually looks like. We also want to attract and retain people. And for those who are in the midst of recruiting or thinking about it, people who are amazing, strong people, they want to be involved on a strong team. And sometimes we can't attract, or once we've got them, they leave too early because they don't like the environment that we've created for them. This is another pain point: attraction and retention. I hope that you guys can create amazing agencies that can thrive. I know in the insurance space, a lot of agencies, they hook people with a promise of financial opportunity, but then they abandon their agents as soon as they're onboarded. I believe you guys are people, you guys are agencies who want to do better. Then there's this line. Blessing and I have worked through seasons of this ugly line. Anyone know what this represents in business? Type it in the chat if you've seen this hideous, appalling, ugly line. No growth. This is a growth ceiling, and there are multiple stages throughout careers or throughout businesses where what got you where you are will not get you where you need to be. This could be revenue, policies, premiums sold. This could be people. You've maxed out with your recruiting and you keep losing people at the same rate you gain them. And so what we want to make sure we're solving is the issues that are underlying these problems. There's different growth zones, and we want to solve at each level. So as we start diving into culture, what is it and what are the tools? The question for you is, are you building culture on purpose, or are you just letting it form by accident, or maybe by inaction or indecision? We want to craft culture intelligently, intentionally. That's the word I'm looking for. It's always being built, and some of us, we've been in chaotic environments where it's like this swirl of ideas and this swirl of problems and noise, or maybe it's focused and precise, and people understand, and they have clarity, and they move forward with action. Culture is being built, and we are trying to make sure that we're building the right kind of culture. Final, maybe not a pain point, but a desire or a goal for us is that we want to actually build something that we're proud of. Now, one, it's the business, making money and making something that impacts lives. Your clients, I'm sure some of you have amazing, beautiful stories of how your policies, how insurance has actually saved them in a real tough situation. But it's also the team members. Think of the people that you're recruiting and how you can elevate their standard of living. How you can elevate your agents' skill development, giving them training, giving them encouragement, and giving them vision. We will have these people leave us at some point. And what we're hoping to do is leave a lasting mark on people. That's the real reward and treasure of leadership, is saying, the people that I was able to rub shoulders with, they're in a better place in life because of the impact that I had on them. A little bit about me before we dive into the culture piece. Who is Will Winter? A bit of my story. When I was 20, I had this big vision of what my life might be. I had these ambitions of greatness, and I had this desire to make a difference in this world. But through my 20s, I was continually frustrated because I was in environments where people above me, they didn't really know, how do I handle Will? He's a little energetic. He's a little wild out there. He's a little rough around the edges. That was my story. And so through my 20s, I struggled. And I struggled to find the right kind of mentor or leader or supervisor or boss. I did not find too many. I found just a few, however. Along the way, there was people like David Smith and Steve Backlund, men who believed in me and men who taught me and gave me a skill set, not just ideas about leadership, but actual tools that I could put to use. At the end of my journey, I had two paths to take, and I had spent 10 years of my life really investing in leadership development, growth, communication. At the time, I actually wanted to be a pastor, but it felt like the only doors that opened up to me were actually in business. And so I took that path on the right there, and I worked for the last 4 years with Alex Branning. Some of you are on Agent CRM currently. That's where you probably know me from. But we worked to build this amazing business, this amazing product, systems, tools, technology, AI, marketing, all that fun stuff. But my real passion and my heart lay behind developing people. And that's what caused me to leave and move on to this new exploration, this new journey of leadership development. The biggest thing that I am passionate about is building people. People like Blessing, who's on this call today. So proud of you, girl. It was beautiful to see at the end of my 4 years, we had the final team meeting. And it was, Will, goodbye, and let's have some happy memories. And it was beautiful to see the tears, myself included, where people were so moved and touched by what we had created together that this thought of leaving and separating, it caused a lot of beautiful emotions to be stirred up. A lot of sadness, a lot of happiness and gratitude. And I hope you guys can have those moments in your career as well, where you see, I did something that I'm proud of. That brings me to today, what you guys are experiencing here, the Greatness Incubator. This new vehicle for purpose that I'm driving is about developing leadership capacity in people like yourself, giving the actual skills and mindsets to lead at a higher level. That's what we're after here. Some of the ways that I help businesses, if you're looking to continue the conversation with me after this call, improving team performance, attracting and retaining great people. That's what I assist with. Strengthening accountability and ownership, developing leadership in the people, yourself and the people under you, and then helping make sure we don't get stuck at you being the bottleneck. One of the last pieces here that I want to make sure I share, because I actually skipped it, and it's more important than all of this, is my beautiful family. There is Samuel here. There. Samuel, he is 15 months old. He is a treasure. He's my chief fun officer. I hope you guys all have a chief fun officer in your life. Jessica Jean, my lovely wife there, an amazing mother. And then we've got baby number 2 on the way, a little girl due this August. And my hope for you guys, if you're building a great business, do not do it at the expense of your family. I'm reading the Elon Musk biography. I read the Steve Jobs, the Phil Dog shoe dog story. Some of these stories, they built something beautiful, but it was at the cost of the people closest to them. There's my little spiel, my little rant as we move in here. All right, let's dive into the questions here that we're going to answer. We want to answer, what is culture? How does it impact your initiatives? You're trying to drive a certain initiative. You're trying to increase sales. You're trying to drive CRM engagement. Sometimes that feels like pulling teeth when your agents just don't use the tools. How does culture impact our people, and how can we intentionally craft it? Let's dive in here. What is culture? Give me a few comments below just so we can see what you guys are thinking. What is a word or a phrase? Drop that in the chat. What is a word or phrase that defines culture for you? I had some great ones on the last call that we did. What are some words or phrases that define culture? Let's see if I can pull my cool screen of my participants. Dump that in the chat. How you believe things should go. Belief. That's a good one. Are you reading my slides here? Belief. Here's a good one. What people do when no one is watching. What people do when no one is watching. Trust, teamwork, people's way of life. Blessing sat in my training before. She's cheating. What is culture? Here's a definition that we're going to use today. Culture is a way of life that a group experiences together, and it is the shared pattern of habits and beliefs. Lynette says behaviors, that's on there as well. Beliefs, behaviors, Monique got that one. Expectations, values, they all come together behind the scenes to create a way of life. Synergy in and day out of an agency. That's right, Cindy. It's the synergy, it's the movement, it's the inertia, the momentum. Things are moving in a certain direction. What is your culture? Consider that. Maybe leave that as a question to think deeper about. What are the positive and negative things that you're proud of your culture? We want to assess where we're actually at, celebrate what's going well, but think, yeah, actually, that's something I'm aware of, or I'm becoming aware of, that I want to address. Culture itself is teaching people. You might think that you run a team training and you've said one thing, but culture is telling people silently, quietly, what gets rewarded. They watch that. What gets tolerated, ignored, and repeated. People are watching these signs and they start to take notice. And even though you've said things one way, they've been taught from culture itself. Culture is teaching people what is normal. It's not just the platform or microphone moments. Every system, some of you have heard this quote. If you have, comment in the chat. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. That means that if you are experiencing something you don't like, part of it is on us as leaders. We have the most influence, the most control over every area of our business. It may not feel like that at times, but we've built something. We've designed something from onboarding to attraction to training. We've built something that's getting certain results, and we need to look back at the system as a whole. What are all the pieces of the puzzle that need to be adjusted? We did that. And for some business owners, I've heard stories where people say, I don't like showing up to work. I don't like my own business. I loathe or I resent. I'm frustrated at my team. I don't like hanging around with them. Do something about it. We're the ones that built this experience. And so we need to look at the engine of our business. Here's what we're experiencing at times. We have an initiative, we have a strategy, and it feels like it's an uphill battle. Some of you guys, you know the good things, the beneficial things your agents, why they just do this. If they just did it, then they would be better off. It feels like we're facing an uphill battle, but it's the norms and habits, the behaviors like Lynette shared here. The unspoken standards are pushing against this, and you have a great strategy, but maybe it's not the plan, it's the environment itself. And we need to evaluate, maybe it's not just throwing new things against the wall and hoping something sticks. Maybe it's designing the environment a little bit better. The environment was working against it, and it didn't even stand a chance in the first place. It's not just about why didn't this initiative succeed, it's about did it even stand a chance? We built the culture, so we got to build better culture to get the right results. It's not built. Healthy culture is not built by force, manipulation, panic, whip cracking, or demanding people to get on board. The first slide I said culture is not built by, but actually there is a type of culture. It's not a healthy culture. that's built by some of these things. So we want to design the right environments. We want to shape the environment itself so that the right behaviors become normal. Shape the environment so that the right behaviors become normal. And final thought before we dive into the tools here. It's not just about improving performance. It's about building the people. If you build the people up, they will build your business. If you give them skills, if you give them confidence, if you raise them up, it will benefit your business. But we need to look at the person themselves and actually care and value and invest in them. If we don't invest in them and they stay, that's a problem. Or maybe we don't invest in them and they leave. We need to believe in the value of developing people. So here's the toolkit that we're going to go through today. There are 7 core tools, and I'm going to share some examples from my time with Agent CRM. I want to make this practical and give some actual real blueprints or examples here. What are the tools? To give an overview, maybe some of you want to take a screenshot. There will be some follow-up content as well, but celebration and discouragement, that's the first tool. Values, that's another. That's one that many people recognize. Language, there's another tool that we have in our belt. What is the language that we use? Modeling, what do we demonstrate? The team, what is the team themselves? Stories, and then time commitments. Let's dive into the first one here. Celebration and discouragement. What you celebrate gets repeated. What you tolerate becomes normal. What you confront loses permission. This first piece here is about putting your mark of approval on certain behaviors, a gold star or a little trophy, so to speak, where you say this, yes, this is what we want to see more of. If we tolerate things though, or if we don't step up or confront, confrontation, let's put in the chat, confrontation is, fill in the blank, easy, hard. What is your response? Confrontation is hard. Yep. Scary, hard. I'll share a brief story and then I'll share some other examples here. There's a specific employee on our team. Every Friday, they had a little humorous graphic that they shared. And it was supposed to be comical, and it was something along the lines of looking forward to the weekend. But it had this tone to it, like, I want to escape work. Like, can't wait to get out of here. Like, oh my goodness, the weekend is finally here. And it seemed innocent enough, but it sent a message and it made a narrative that work is not a fun place. And I didn't like that narrative, but I didn't confront. And it didn't need to be a big deal. I wish that I'd just stepped in and said, hey man, I know you're trying to be funny, but it might be sending a message that you don't like. And I'd appreciate if you can find a different way to, engage or something like that to just take out the impact of that. The employee eventually left the team and I never had my opportunity to confront, but next time I learned a lesson and I would jump in there real quick, even with just a gentle nudge. We need to confront things at times so they lose permission. Here's a practical thing to add into your world, meeting shoutouts. Now, maybe you have monthly, weekly, daily team huddles or stand-ups. Shoutouts are a great way. And what we did on our team is we had Zoom meetings every Monday, and even manager meetings we did this, where we'd say something like this. And I've got the little shortcut here. I'd say, hey everyone, great to see you on the call today. I'd love to get started with some shout outs. Who on the team are you grateful for? Who are you wanting to brag about? Check out our core values. They're in the chat. Call out a person's name. What are you grateful for and what value does it reinforce? And we'd start and get the energy going. And we'd see that as people had this call out or this shout out, people who were called out, they said, oh, you noticed? I'm going to do more of that. Or people who were watching would say, is that what it takes to get recognition? Maybe I'll start doing more of that. We put our seal of approval through celebration. Here's another one. I'm a Slack guy. If there's any Slack fans, you can drop it in the chat. What we did, we lived in Slack when I was with the team. And so what's really important in that world was formatting. And people would just have this mess of comments, and it's hard to skim and to read. And so what we'd do is we'd take these screenshots and we'd say, look at this shot. Look, that's beautiful. If anyone can appreciate that, you can give a heart or a like there. But what I did was I screenshotted it. I made these fun graphics on Canva, super easy. I took a bunch of poses and I put them on these slides, and we put it on Slack and said, check it out. This is what excellence looks like. Come on, Shah. We had a little teaching that went along with it. There's another guy, Wakas. Some of you might have worked with him. And he left such detailed notes. If you ever had a call with the tech team, it's super important for other members to know what's actually going on. And so we said, man, we need more. Why can't they be more like Wakas? We celebrated his behavior. We created a fun graphic. We had a little teaching. Another example here, different pose. Sherry on the team, the success manager for Agent CRM, he left amazing notes as well. And so we'd say, this is what excellence looks like. This is what initiative. Oh, come on, this is it. And it stirs up an understanding of the behaviors that we're celebrating and valuing. Are you intentionally reinforcing the behaviors you want? Or are you maybe accidentally rewarding or tolerating the ones you complain about? That's a question that we want to consider. For those who continue in the program with me, we have an intensive where we're going to build a framework for encouragement. There's actually training on how to give effective encouragement that touches and moves people. What is your celebration rhythm? That needs to be figured out. How do you correct people? Many of you said it's scary or it's frustrating, it's hard, it's challenging. We didn't learn the skills as children, and so we need to develop later in life a framework for correction, meeting structures as well. That's something we'll continue for those who are interested. Second tool here is values. Values name what matters. Yes or no, do you currently have values in your business? I'd love to just get a poll on this. Some of you are currently working on your values. Yes, Karen's got them. Yes, yes. Now, if you're earlier on, there's no shame, but it's something that's going to help, and you'll see why. I have a mission statement. That's a great start there. That's one piece we definitely want to include. It clarifies guiding decisions, behaviors, priorities, standards. If people don't have clear values, they just guess. Let's give the example, or just big picture here for those who are in the process of developing core values. We want to start with understanding what our personal values are. And for some of you, you might get a sense, and I'll say one of my values is excellence. And maybe you can see that by the way the slides look and all these cool transitions and the lighting behind me that I have going on here. Excellence is a core value of mine. It doesn't have to be your core value. What is your core value? But we also need to understand, what does the business need? And where those things overlap, we need to enjoy the business we work in. Any business I'm in, I'm going to make it excellent. If it was not excellent, I would not work there. But we also need to understand, what is the business needs? So for Agent CRM, what did this look like? This looked like us struggling for a few years to hire the right people because we didn't have filters, we didn't have core values. And then we started to realize we onboard 10 to 20 people every single day. And we need something that can scale, repeatable, process-driven. And some of you, there are some people that like to color outside of the lines. There is no box in their world. Some of us are like, that's me, I'm that person. It's a type of person that's okay. There's a place for that. But at Agent CRM, if you like to color outside the lines, you would not work well here. And so what we did was we said, you got to be a systems-driven person. If you don't think and are willing to submit to a system, an SOP, one of you guys mentioned SOPs. If you're not that kind of person, no shame, but you're not going to fit here because we are systems-driven people. We had 6 core values in total. Maybe yours are statements or phrases. Maybe they're words, but all of a sudden we started to filter in our hiring process, in our decision process. We trained our team and they started to make more systems-driven decisions. We taught them how to think in SOPs and how to think in optimization because we knew this is the kind of thing we need to be. Now, if you're looking for upgrades to your recruiting funnel, there is a great example here. Apply.agent-crm.com. I'm not asking you to apply for a job, although we did actually take a insurance agent and turn them into a salesperson for us. But if you want an example of what it looks like to filter in your recruiting process, check out that funnel to see some of the elements, how we actually say, hey, this is who we're looking for. This is the kind of person that we want. Even personal values, I'd love to know, does anyone have family values? Yes or no? My wife and I, we got married during COVID. We had to have a little bit of fun with our photos. Luis has got some family values. We sat down on our honeymoon and we decided what are the 5 guiding North Star values of our lives so that when in tough decisions, we'd understand what decision is going to get us where we want to be. That's how we use our values. Even this business endeavor, the Greatness Incubator, when I left Agent CRM, I had options. But I knew one of my core values, we boldly pursue our dreams and we encourage others to pursue theirs. That's a core value. And that just pushed us in this direction. Let's take a leap of faith. Let's go after this. That value helped us make decisions. It can help your team make decisions as well. Here's some questions. Feel free to screenshot again. Are our values actually shaping culture? How do our values fit into our decision-making process? They might just be cute statements on a wall. We want to make sure we add expressions of these to our business. Here's what we're going to cover in the continued program. We want usable core values if we have to workshop them a little bit. We want decision filters for your team so you can understand how to get values put into play. And hiring and interviewing alignment questions. How can we make sure we catch people before they enter our business? Weaving them into our values, like I shared an example. How do we make sure values don't just get forgotten? Some people, you have values, but your team doesn't know your values. Third tool is language. Language is the expression of our values. It creates shared meaning, and it's like a seed. Every phrase is like a seed of an idea or a belief, and we're sowing into our environment. People repeat things, and that becomes the lens, the perspective people think with. And especially when people can repeat it, that's when culture is strengthened. An example, maybe a personal example here from a family life. There's a mother, she left this for me. I'm definitely going to use it with my kids. Every time the kids had a problem, they'd complain, they'd have a situation, the mother would always say a specific phrase. There's always a solution. And she continued to repeat that phrase over the years, and whenever the kids would come back, she might even start saying, what do we always say, hun? There's always a solution. And it gave them a lens with which to think through so that they could tackle problems with confidence, with problem solving. What phrases or words become normal or repeated? Maybe even having a bank of words that we start to throw out there. We like to use the phrase A player. And many of you know that in the business world, these elite people. And even on the hiring funnel, we talked about looking for A players. And when we hired them, we said, you've made it onto this call. We had sometimes 60, 90 applicants. And we said, we don't bring anyone, just anyone onto this call. If you've made it this far, you are standing out head and shoulder above the rest. You're an A player. and we'd announce them to the team as an A player and filling the ranks with, and we use these words to shape their beliefs about themselves or even about the customers. How do we speak about the clients, the customers behind their backs? Here's some questions with language. What phrases, beliefs, and assumptions are shaping how your team or your family responds to pressure? What phrases, beliefs, or assumptions? What we want to make sure to develop is a language bank, phrases, words that we can continue to sow like seeds of belief, phrases that reinforce things like ownership and excellence. We want to make sure we have ways to correct where language is misaligned. Confrontation, if you're recruiting, get used to it. Repeated statements that leaders can carry. You want others on your team to sow these seeds, these word seeds as well. Modeling is the expression of language. Now, here's a statement have any of you heard this? Do as I say, not as I do. I see Karen's nodding her head there. I'm not going to say who in my life gave me that statement, but it is not good leadership. The belief or the heart behind it is, I have a high standard that I hope for you, and I'm not living up to it myself, but I hope you can do better. But we need to see examples. We need to see it in real life. Thinking about my mentor, Steve Backlund, we would walk down the hallway together, and he'd stop a random person. Maybe he didn't even know them, and hey, I just want to give you some encouragement. And he would speak some encouragement and hope and vision into their lives. And I'm like, we got somewhere to be, but he'd stop and he'd do this again and again. On the back of his book, it always says, Steve Backlund is an encourager. And I saw it modeled. So I had an example that I could replicate, and I could see, oh, that's what it looks like to do that thing. Culture is often caught before it's taught. And we might be saying one thing and modeling another. People follow what leaders embody. Preparation, courage, humility, excellence, all these things, they're taking notes, even when you don't think they are. And that's what they're going to reproduce. So we need to understand, what is the standard, and are people on our team replicating it? Are they embodying it, or are they contradicting the actual standards? Maybe there's certain things that you say on your calls with clients. Sales scripts or sales processes is definitely one. But how do you talk to clients with honor and respect? Maybe that's a habit that you want to reinforce. Or what are the ways you take notes? That's a big one for agents as well, is after a call, could you model and demonstrate, here's what it looks like to take good notes, good note taking. We want a leadership modeling audit. What are the behaviors, vital behaviors, that if acted on will make a difference in your business? What do people need to reproduce? We want a personal alignment checklist. What are the things we need to do, and make sure we're living up to that? And then standards for preparation, communication, ownership, follow through. This can be SOPs. This is what it looks like. This is what note-taking looks like. Team, fifth one here. Now we're talking to agencies, so recruiting, that's a big deal. What kind of people are you bringing into your world? It's not just about how can I get more agents so that I can have a bigger downline. It's what kind of people will represent me? What kind of people will I enjoy being around? You're building the environment with each additional person. Who you hire, promote, platform, tolerate, or remove affects the culture. And we need to protect the influence. Culture fit, so important. Bigger than talent. Some of you have triggers or trauma moments you're thinking of where you've had a person that you feel like, I wish we didn't hire that person. Or maybe you're thinking in this moment, man, I've got an agent, but I just, even though they're getting policies, they are making such a mess of my reputation. And we put up with people at times because of talent, but then they damage the culture, and maybe that scares off other people. We almost lost one of our best employees because there was someone on the team that was a nightmare to work with. And this person was just a free-range employee that was causing such a headache. And even at times, if they got results, it was causing other pain points that we needed to address. If we're talking about value, the cost of, or the ROI of any things, some of you, you're realizing right now that there are changes on your personnel that need to be made. Maybe you need to look for a certain type of person, or maybe you're like, I know it's time to make that tough decision. I know I need to actually, for the greater good, take that initial hit to performance so that I can clear up my culture with the right people. Who is shaping culture most? Who needs to be promoted as well? Maybe fired. Maybe you have training staff. Do you have the right people in the right roles? Here are the steps that we want to cover that we'll go over in the intensive. What is your culture fit criteria? What is the deal breakers in your business? How do we promote or platform people? How do we give them spotlight moments so that they can actually be aligned with us? How do we make sure we diagnose misalignment, role fit? It's really about understanding what do we need and how do we spot it in our world. And then interviewing. The biggest deal is how do we make sure we get the right people in the first place? This is hiring, interviewing. It's a learned skill. Stories. This one is my favorite tool, personally. Stories preserve culture. Now, doom scrolling, that's a thing. I doom scroll leadership tips. Let's guilty pleasure here. What do you doom scroll? Let's just have a fun moment for a second. If you're lost in an Instagram or Facebook feed, what is the type of content? Zit popping, maybe that's your thing. You're not going to announce that if it is. Maybe you will. What is your doom scroll of choice? For me, you see funny cat videos. Yeah. I don't know if anyone can share sales training. I'm glad you have some productive use of your social media time. Free lawn care, I love those too. For me, it's like these random clips of shows I'll probably never watch. It's like some 30-second clip, some minute-and-a-half clip, and I just go down this because I love what happens next. I want to know the story, and I'll remember the story. There's something about stories. We as humans, we're story people. We're wired that way. What gets retold, it gets remembered. It creates a set of values, a value transfer, courage transfer. How did you overcome that thing? And what stories need to be told more often in your business? People help others. You guys are so much better with your social media use than I am. So much more altruistic or intentional. Here's what we did at Agent CRM. The founder story. Some of you have great stories that are worth telling. All of you have great stories worth telling, but do your team members or do the people that you want to recruit, do they know the story? What we did was we said, Alex, people keep asking us, why are we doing insurance? Like it's built on high level, but why insurance? And so we got Alex on the team huddle, and for 15 minutes, he shared, here's the story. Here's the founding story of this business. And it's not just about Alex is awesome, he did a great business. It's what is the origin story and what values were woven into it. And so we took that clip from the huddle and we wove it in. Now every single employee who works for Agent CRM, within the first 3 videos, they're going to understand the story of it. Some of you, there's a real personal story about a family member who went through a hard time and insurance was what changed their life. Some of you, the finances that you generated from going into insurance changed your life. We want to tell these stories to inspire people and weave a narrative. How about employee stories? Shout out to Blessing here. I'm going to pick on you because Blessing's on the call today. Blessing shared her story. What we did was we said to our team, hey guys, we've got 3 questions. Can you answer them on video? And we got them to answer these questions like, how did you grow? What changed in your life? What made this environment different? And then we had our team, we had Alyssa and Blessing go through, and they ranked the testimonials. And they said, inspiration factor, 1 to 5. 1, meh, they didn't communicate clearly, or it's okay. 5, oh, this gets me jazzed. This gets me juiced up and ready to go. And we took the best of the best, and we gave them these cute little graphics, and we gave them a one-liner. This is a place to build your career. This is a place where you can develop your leadership. That's Alyssa's story. This is a high-trust environment. And so we had these stories that even on the hiring funnel, people could see. And even if they didn't watch the video, they'd see the headline. Maybe it would cause curiosity. But we also put these videos into the onboarding at the right place. If it was relevant, we'd sneak this story, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just a little injection of a narrative, a story about what it's like to work at this company. And people could start to be a part of that story themselves. Here's 3 types of stories that you want to tell. One is your origin story, and it's not just about how awesome is Rob. It's about what values did Rob demonstrate as he started this business? Was there a courage moment, or was there an overcoming moment? We want to weave those into our origin story. Mentioned, I think that I've read the Steve Jobs biography, or the shoe dog story. Phil Knight, that's the Nike one. There's a narrative, like Apple is like the underdog, not really anymore, but there's like the rebel, the innovator, the pioneer. And if you're a part of that business, you're a part of a cause, a mission, a vision, something bigger than yourselves. Employee stories, what are they being invited into? Maybe it's financial abundance. Maybe it's making a difference and changing lives, covering people, and you share these stories. Client impact. It's not just your leads that need to hear about the client impact. Are you sharing with your team the client impact? Hey, guys, someone on our agency, they sold a policy 2 years ago, and the person needed to have that coverage. They finally did it, and this is what happened in their lives. That gets your team jazzed up, reinvigorated with purpose and vision. We need to capture these types of stories. What story is your team telling about the business, about the mission, the leader themselves? We want to make sure that we are the ones that are guiding the narrative. People are talking. Are they sharing the same story, or are they talking about you in ways, or are they talking about the business in ways that you're like, that's not who we are? What is the story that we need to tell and make sure our team retells? We want to build the origin story together. We want to make sure that we have stories that reinforce identity, client impact stories. How can we build a process for capturing those and then weaving those into onboarding? One thing as well is also a framework for storytelling. Some of you kind of know the story, but when it comes out, it's not clear or it's not inspiring enough. How can we up the inspiration factor of the stories you tell? That's some training that will be covered in the program. Final one here, time commitments. Your calendar reveals your culture. It's similar to your bank statement. Like if I was to look at any of your credit cards, I'd start to get an understanding, oh, this is what's important to Luis. Values become real when they actually touch the schedule. It shows what matters. I'm going to give an example. This does not need to be what your life looks like, but this was my life for about 1.5 years, especially after I got an executive assistant. We'd sit down every Monday and plan the whole week. We might even plunk a few things a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down, and then every day we'd reevaluate what needs to go in there so that what we value actually gets done. And I don't want you to look at this and think, wow, Will's super together. This is like me trying not to be wild, crazy, and all over the place, which is my natural way of being. If I'm not careful, I'm going to, ooh, oh, shine. Oh, what's that? That's how I normally am. And so what I needed to do was say, hey, I value time with my brother and his wife. We put it on the calendar. We value building community. And so there's some people from our church that we connected with. There's development that we needed to plug in there, because if I didn't do it, it wouldn't happen. And some of you right now, you're thinking, yeah, I have some things that I keep saying are important. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I should get that done, shouldn't I? Is it on the calendar? Even for us, compost day and recycling, it's important that they get done, so they go on the calendar. I want to encourage you to use Google Calendar to your advantage. Anything. My wife and I, we have a rule. If it's not on Google Calendar, it does not exist. So we put it in there together, we share a calendar, and we start to understand what's important to us. Now, it's not just bird's eye view. We need to understand first, where does our calendar contradict our values? But it's also within our meeting structures themselves. You value training and development, but in your team meetings, do you actually do training or celebration? That would be another one. You value and you think encouragement's a good idea, but is it existing anywhere within your meeting? You got a 1 hour meeting once a week, half-hour meeting, by whatever it looks like. If you say it's a value, where is it in your calendar or on your meeting schedule? Becky lives and dies by our calendar. Coach time management and time blocking. It's so important. You read all these books like the Stephen Covey stuff, and we all know it's a good idea, but then actually forcing ourselves to submit to a system. We think that being free and loose and all over the place is a better life, but to move ourselves forward, we need to lock things in so that we move towards them. If you don't respect your time, nobody else will. Here's some things that are on the checklist to do. We need to audit our calendar and actually evaluate weekly, monthly, do things actually align? A rhythm, maybe to redesign some of the meetings themselves to plug in new elements where necessary. Reinforcing habits through the calendars. Time blocking. For me, I actually plugged in encouragement. There was a season of my life where I wanted to grow in encouragement. So every Tuesday for half an hour, there was a 30-minute block. Encourage your team. And I just blitzed through some voice messages, sending them to the team. Just some final thoughts as we wrap up the tools and we move into the invitation and also reflection. I'd love to hear your feedback, what stuck out. But we're trying to build an environment. The business name that I'm going under is the Greatness Incubator. You guys are in a Greatness Incubator moment right now. But my hope is not just that you come to me as a Greatness Incubator. My hope, the philosophy, if you will, is that you as a business owner, leader, you create a Greatness Incubator where people who come under your wing, under your employment, something is unlocked within them. It's not just about getting more performance, which we will get. It's about designing this place where both the plans can thrive, but also the people, that they can leave better off than when you found them. That's another family core value of mine. We leave each place and person better than when we found them. And I hope you create that environment for those that you lead. All right, I want to hear some takeaways from today. What is your one takeaway? Maybe you've been taking notes. Maybe you have a collection of screenshots. What is the one thing? Maybe you've got a few, but what's the standout moment? What is the standout takeaway that's going to be a game changer for your business? What new awareness or insight are you coming away from this time with? I'll give you guys a moment here. Put on that cool screen sharing. Dump in the chat below. Lock in the learning, guys. Culture determines the success of your agency and employees. Yes, Becky. Stories preserve culture. It's still one of my favorites. Stories and encouragement. Those are my top two. Time blocking, clean up the calendar. That's homework for some of us. Time blocking. Yeah. Respect my time and get better with Google Calendar. Yes. Things happen for areas one, and this meeting happened for a reason. Yes. Appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Well, let's end here with the invitation for those who are interested. You will get some resources after this call as well, but culture doesn't change because you heard a good idea once. Some of you will take these things, you run with them, but it's not just about coming on this call. We want to actually build and design and work at these things together. And we want to solve real problems. It's not just about a fun, like, team environment that we enjoy being in. We do have problems we want to solve as well. Making sure standards don't just depend on you. We don't want you to be the bottleneck. We want to make sure your plans don't lose momentum. We want to keep the best people, attract them and keep them on your team. We have some challenges that we're trying to solve here. The invitation, there is more. Great comments from Rob here. Difference in believing the values of people versus the faith that knowing your contributions will add up and change behavior. Yes. So the invitation, we do have a program that we are going to be launching, the Cultural Architect. Tried to come up with something cool. It's an 8-week implementation program. We're going to take each of these skills and actually put them into your business in some of the ways that we talked about. We want to update your cultural OS. Think of an operating system. I'm an Apple fan, an Apple cultist. So if you're a PC, you need to update your operating system. But your business has one too. We're going to turn all of these 7 tools into assets, resources that your team can actually use. 7 tools that we've covered. We did the intro today, and there's going to be workshops on each of these 7 actual trainings. We're going to have extra resources beyond the live trainings as well. But part of it is not just sitting and listening to me. We are going to workshop these things. And so with this program, there's not just the training sessions. There are going to be what I call implementation labs. These are going to be weekly. So you're going to have one training session and one implementation session where whoever is free will drop in and workshop. We'll share ideas. We'll find new expressions of these things, new tools, and we're going to get some feedback from those who are also going through this journey. So there's the program, equipping sessions, implementation lab, and there is an extra one I'll talk about in a moment here. Cohort is starting soon. There is a time sensitivity to this. Some of you might be watching the replay. I'll speak to those people as well. I do have a next step that will be relevant whether you're watching the replay beyond this cohort, but there is a specific time to this moment, this live call here. What we're going to do, if you are interested in this program, there's 2 options for enrollment. Solo enrollment, where you just come by yourself. You might be the individual making this all happen. We're going to work on developing these things. This is the first cohort, so that's going to be the intro price for this program for those who are interested. If you have a larger team, organizations, there are insurance agencies coming. There are other organizations that are not insurance that will be a part of this as well. If you have multiple people, an operator, a manager, a supervisor, someone who is going to also run with you and you need alignment, we do have organizational enrollment where you can bring up to 5 people from your team. So those are the 2 options. I'm not going to push you to a checkout. What I actually want to invite you to is, I'm getting ahead of myself. I do want to reward action as well, because again, I need to know who's involved and invested in this program. If you guys are interested, what I want you to do, I'm going to give you my personal calendar link in a moment. There's going to be a one-on-one call where we assess if this is the right program for you. Or maybe there are other ways that I can support your business, your agency. If you take action by just locking in a call, it can be on Friday, it can be any time that's available on the calendar. But if you book today or tomorrow for any time that's available, lock in a call slot, and I want to give you an extra one-on-one session with me. If anyone's done strengths, there's like disc strengths, there's Myers-Briggs, there's Enneagram. I do not understand Enneagram one bit, but the best I've ever come across is Clifton Strengths. And I want to help you understand what is the way that you show up. Why are you having a natural bent in this direction, or maybe you're feeling weird. Why are you as weird as you are? I found that out with this test. And so I'm going to do your strengths test if you book this session with me. We're going to do a one-on-one session to unpack, and I have some extra resources if you lock in a call with me. So here's the next steps. I'm going to drop that in the chat as well. Let's find that little slide. Boom. Feel free to open that up and take a look. Even if you open it up and later on today you come back to that window, some of you guys are hopping into other calls, that is the link to move forward. So we'll leave that there. Let's see if there's any more slides. That's it for today. And we're wrapping up right at the hour. That's something I feel proud of. Thank you guys so much for joining today. I hope for just stories of success, stories of impact. There's a lot of people your lives are touching. There's over almost 100 people that registered for these webinars that I've put on this first go, and I just get excited to think of who's going to be impacted. Oh, that's cute. Thank you. ChatGPT, good friend of ours. Our hardest working employee, ChatGPT. Thank you guys for the engagement in the comments. I look forward to seeing some of you on the call. I'll drop that link in again just to bump it to the bottom. But I look forward, whether you are looking to join this live cohort, whether you are following with a replay and want to have a conversation, I'd love to work with your business to help to craft your environment so you can attract and retain, do all the things that we talked about. Look for some follow-up emails as well and check the description if you're watching a replay for more notes. Thank you guys a ton, and I appreciate all of your investment in this call and also the people you lead. Have a great rest of your day and go and get stuff done.